right, happy Friday, Cotter and Marshall Show. Favorite segment of the week.
Without a doubt.
It is time for Beer for Breakfast. Joining us in studio, the South Carolina and Georgia State Manager for Wicked Weed.
That's a huge title, dude. You don't look that responsible.
I'm not.
You are up the food chain. I like that. Tony, Two Tap Scarpetti. All right, we're jumping right into the nickname. How did you get the nickname Two Tap? Is it Two Tap or Two Taps?
Two Tap.
Two Tap.
Just to make it
singular.
easy.
Singular. All right,
Yes.
so
Yes.
What's the story behind the nickname? Let's start there.
So everyone always associates it with my last name, Scarpetti. They think, it's mafia related. Well, obviously
Absolutely.
it's not.
The moment I met you, I'm like, he's a part of The Sopranos. Is he the small boy from that show?
Yeah. With Wicked Weed, we're always asked, you have to have a nickname when you start.
Okay.
And, I started a little over 3 years ago, and pretty much every beer name you could think of was taken at that point.
Right.
Dr. Dank, the Rollin' Barrel Ballin',
Yes.
anything and everything. And we're known for our sours and our IPAs.
Yeah.
And I went in to sell a beer, and I actually sold 2 lines. And I was like, oh, man, I get to sell 2 taps in every bar I go in. And then it's kind of an alliteration on Tony Two Taps Scarpetti.
Right.
So it kind of stuck. And now in certain areas that I cover, they don't even know me by my name. They just go, hey, Two Taps. Hey, what's going on? Things like that. So the name stuck. People love it. I love it. And it's kind of just my tagline now.
You've been murdering kegs for years now.
Murdering
there you
kegs.
go. I like it.
Yeah.
Good for you. Convicted murderer.
All right, so 3 years with Wicked Weed.
Yep.
All right, so how did you get into it? What was your start with them?
So I started in food and bev.
Okay.
I spent about 15 years of my life in food and beverage, doing anything and everything you could ever imagine. Washing dishes, cooking, kitchen manager, general manager. Finally, dream job of mine was to be in the beer industry.
Sure.
Applied for 100 different supplier jobs. Everybody wants to work for a brewery. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be a radio guy.
Not
they're-
everyone.
They're amazing jobs, though.
Right.
There's a long line to get in. Kept getting the same response. You need experience. You need experience. So then I applied for the local distributor.
Okay.
They're down here as well, Southern Eagle. Amazing company, one of the best companies I've ever worked for in my life. So I started as an on-premise salesman. So basically I went in and I sold multiple brands. I sold the entire portfolio. Continued to evolve in the craft world, and I was lucky that I bartended in Denver. I bartended in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Charleston, so I've been around in a lot of big beer cities. And so when I was with the wholesaler, I was the on-premise sales rep, and I continued evolving in the craft, and then I became the craft brand manager. Well, as I did that, then I only focused on craft. So then I didn't have to sell domestics. So then I'm starting to build my experience. Naturally, we launched Wicked Weed in South Carolina at the time before we had launched it in coastal Georgia, and they needed to backfill my boss's position. And they picked the best. I mean, let's be honest.
Tony Two Taps,
Yeah,
baby.
Tony Two Taps, So they approached me and they asked me if I'd be interested in the job, and I said, absolutely.
Nice.
So I took the job, and my initial territory was all the way essentially from the tip of North Carolina, Florence, Myrtle Beach, up that area, Little River, and then all the way down to like St. Simon, Jekyll, and things like that.
That's huge.
So that was my territory
Yeah.
as a Wicked Weed sales rep.
Just the tip Two Taps.
Just the 2 tips, tip north, tip south.
So many tips.
Yeah. So that's how I got in with Wicked Weed, and then my career has evolved. I continue to learn, continue to grow, and then I took the promotion this past year in 2020 during
nice,
the
man.
pandemic
Yeah.
of the state manager of Georgia and South Carolina.
Sick
So-
brag, dude. Sick brag. Well, no, we really appreciate you coming in. I had an opportunity to meet you back this past January when I was hosting a trivia tournament, and I was like, dude, I got the morning show coming up. You have to come in because we're both a huge fan of Wicked Weed. Cotter and I actually went up, it was like 4 or 5 years ago at this point, but I mean, we went into Wicked Weed and we stayed for quite a while. I brought up a beer that I don't even think you guys make anymore called Boston Cooler that I love there, but I'm very excited about what you brought in today. So let's start. Let's have a beer.
There's 2, man, so let's crack one open.
It is beer for breakfast. Let's start off with this first beer. What do we have today, Tony?
So this is our Pernicious IPA. This is our #1 selling beer, 7.3%. This is my Bud Light, we'll call it, right? This is what I drink on a day-to-day.
What 7.5?
7.3.
7.3.
Yeah. I can drink these all day.
Tony looked a little loaded when he walked in, and I was like, now I get it. Now I get it.
Tony is a professional.
Yes,
Well, yeah.
yes. I do this for a living. I mean, let's be honest.
He kills kegs for a living, man. I mean,
All right, thank you.
Yep. So, like I said, this is our #1 selling beer. This beer is very special to us because of the name Wicked Weed, which I'll get into in a second. The title of this beer is where essentially we got our name, Wicked Weed. Also, something really cool about this beer is that think about all the great East Coast breweries, right? I mean, up and down the East Coast, Northeast, everything. The Great American Beer Festival is the Super Bowl of beer festivals.
Oh, yeah.
Fort Collins, Colorado. Every year, IPAs are always the #1 entered category.
Yeah, we tried to actually go to that and broadcast from it. We were trying to sneak our way into it. I don't think they allowed it.
No, that didn't happen.
They said no. They denied it.
It's still a dream.
Yeah.
Still a dream.
Yeah. Well, try doing it. It would be amazing. But you think about all the great East Coast IPAs. None of them had ever won in the IPA category before 2015.
Okay.
So we're only 8 years old as a brewery. In comes Wicked Weed. We put in Pernicious, and we take home silver. So that's kind of what really put us on the map.
Right.
You know, like as far as like knowing that, hey, we're an IPA house.
Right.
You know, sours, IPAs. It's a great beer, West Coast IPA, but what I like to think is it's a West Coast IPA with an East Coast touch, right?
Okay.
Because you can drink this with our humidity, with the no-see-ums, the gnats and everything biting you, and you can just drink this on a
Because you're
boat.
so drunk, you don't even feel the gnats anymore.
Exactly. Well, they get drunk and they just fall off you. So, you know.
It's a great way to kill.
It's
kill
gnat
the
repellent.
gnats.
Yeah, you don't have to actually buy insect repellent anymore. You
No.
just douse yourself in Pernicious from Wicked Weed.
All right.
Turning two gnats. You know?
All right, well, let's do a little beer review. Let's go ahead and just hold it up to the light first. I mean, it is golden yellow like you think a natural lager would be. As you said, the Bud Light of Wicked Weed. So there you go. It's very close color-wise. Let's take a big old sniff of this bish.
Yeah, that doesn't play around, man.
It's got some nice hop aroma to it. I don't think it's like overbearing, like too hoppy. Like there's some beers that are dank, I guess is the perfect word. This is not dank, I don't think, on the scale of smell.
Am I getting grapefruit or is it just me?
No, you are.
Okay,
you are.
good.
You're having a stroke.
I might. I don't know.
A little bit of grapefruit, a
Yeah.
little bit of tropical fruit in there.
Yeah, that's nice.
What's great about this beer too is we really let the hops speak for themselves.
Right.
So we lowered the malt bill a little bit, and we just dumped a ton of hops in there. So that's a big difference. Like this isn't going to be a palate destroyer.
Right.
Like, this beer pairs well with seafood,
Right.
salads, wings if you really want to intensify the heat.
That's why you can drink it all day.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Dude, I can see why that is your Bud Light. So smooth.
Yeah.
You got the hops there, especially come back in on the back end a little bit more.
Yeah.
But that is just a super smooth. It's an easy drinking IPA.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Which is hard to say even
Right.
after you drink it.
I know.
And you don't realize that it's 7.3.
No,
That's
not-
what's dangerous about
not
it.
at
Like,
all.
It's very dangerous. It could definitely sneak away.
And it holds up. It holds up on the beach,
Right.
boat,
Oh, gosh,
golf
that's
course.
perfect.
With our heat, there's a lot of IPAs out there that, being a hophead that I am, I can't drink a hoppy beer in 90-degree weather. Pernicious, you can drink it and still feel refreshed.
Well, let's go ahead and review it. Then we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll review Freak of Nature, which I'm excited about. I haven't had that one
much.
before. So on the beer scale of supremacy, we'll go around the table. Cotter, you start first. What do you give Wicked Weed's Pernicious on the scale of 1 to 5, just so Tony knows?
Man, this is tough because we got the other one coming up. Do I start high? I don't know where to go. It's always the first one. I'm going to go 3.75 because it is super easy drinkable. It is, like you said, you don't know it's 7.3. It is a really good IPA. And like I said, I've recently gotten back into IPAs. This is something that I could just go to constantly and be okay with going, that's my go-to IPA.
Tony, what would you give? I know you're a little biased because you do work for Wicked Weed, but on a scale of 1 to 5, on the beer scale of supremacy, what would you give your own Pernicious India Pale Ale?
So this is a non-biased opinion. Even before I started working for Wicked Weed, I sold probably 70 different IPAs. I give Pernicious a 5.
Woo.
I always kept this in my refrigerator. Even before it was released in South Carolina, I would drive to North Carolina specifically to get this beer. Like I said, this is definitely my favorite beer and my go-to. So
Normally, I would call BS on that. I believed every word he just said.
Yeah.
I honestly, you believe this is a 5, man. That's
He's
awesome.
He's an
Yes.
absolute addict, you could tell.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and give this a 3.5. I actually really do enjoy Wicked Weed overall, and also Pernicious as well. I'm not really into IPAs at the moment. Like I said, we've been on the live stream, we were talking about how we're in the ebbs and flows of stuff. I'm currently on a lager Pilsner kick, but I actually do enjoy this IPA, and I totally get the beach vibes of this. I could slug these all day and eventually fall face first into the ocean.
All right, More from Tony with Wicked Weed coming up. We've got brand new stuff from Seether. This is Bruised and Bloodied. Cotter and Marshall Show, Rock 106.1. All right, thanks for hanging out. It's Cotter and Marshall Show. Get the stream, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. It is beer for breakfast. We've got Tony from Wicked Weed, the South Carolina, Georgia state manager. Wicked Weed, we said it earlier, one of our favorite breweries. We were there 4 or 5 years ago. And before we went, everybody's like, you got to go to the Funkatorium. Got to go to the Funkatorium. And my wife at the time wasn't a huge craft beer person. So she's like, let's go there first because I know I'm not going to like it. And then we can get it out of the way. So we go. We sat there for 2-3 hours and came back the next day. All of us fell in love with that place.
I think your wife and I actually went to the back and bought T-shirts.
Yeah,
because
she
we loved
does.
it so much.
She still wears it. She's still got her
awesome.
Wicked Weed shirt. So so when I went and I was there in August, and she's like, pick some stuff up. You don't come home empty-handed. So, I love the Funkatorium.
Yeah, so Tony, explain the Funkatorium and what that is compared to Wicked Weed and how it's an exclusive place just in Asheville. But what is the Funkatorium so everyone can kind of understand what it is?
So the Funkatorium is our souring facility, right? So when you brew beer and you actually like barrel age sour beers, you deal with a lot of bacterias and wild yeast and things like that. So you don't want to contaminate your clean beers, IPAs, Pilsners, things like that.
Sure.
So when we opened the Funkatorium, we want to do it right. So we opened up a completely separate facility for our barrel aging process, and that was the original OG site where we did all of our barrel aging sour beers. As we grew, we had to open up a whole nother souring facility because our souring program got gigantic.
Right.
That's why if you go to the Funkatorium, it's known for the sour beers. So 90% of the menu is going to be all of our sour beers. You know, award-winning, OGs, new releases. It's the mecca in the Southeast for barrel aging sour beer program.
Yeah, it's a unique place too when you walk in because it's like all like dark, like walnuts, wood. It's just like it's almost gothic
It's
when
a cool
you
vibe.
first walk in. Yeah, so it's definitely a different vibe when you walk in there. So we actually have a question here from the stream that I wanted to ask you, Tony. Gibby asked this: when the pandemic started, many distillers and brewers made sanitizers and such. Did Wicked Weed do something similar?
So we were actually very busy and we were still at capacity, so we didn't shut down to make sanitizers because we're not a distillery and we couldn't take the capacity. But what we did is we did shut our kitchens down and we gave back to the Giving Kitchen and to
awesome.
Manna, which is the local food bank in Asheville.
Cool.
We provided, I think it's over 150,000 meals last year just to frontline workers, schools, things like that. So we really concentrated our resources towards giving back towards the Asheville community and helping out a lot of people that were out of work up there. We also have a program within Wicked Weed too that we did that each employee out of my paycheck we donate. So like the servers and the front of the house staff and the back of the house staff. So I donate a portion of my paycheck every time. So we took that. So people that were out of work, we were able to give back as well.
That's awesome.
So yeah, not necessarily sanitizer, but we definitely we went above and beyond. We made USA Today news for our giving as far as like the meals that we provided and things like that.
So Wicked Weed, one of the coolest names, I think, in beer.
You guys have your own rolling papers.
That's amazing. So what's the story behind the name?
All right, so everyone assumes weed. Let's be honest, THC, CBD.
I think
right.
it's an easy attachment to go to.
Actually,
Sure.
before Tony walked in, he sold me a dime bag.
You want to hit the spin? No, I'm just kidding. No, so our name comes from history. It's actually a really great story. It's a famous quote, King Henry VIII.
Okay.
He was a short, angry man.
Yeah, it's Cotter.
Me. Yeah, it's me.
He beheaded a lot of his wives.
Cotter.
He was known for that. So hops were illegal in England at the time. They were making a style of beer called Groot, which doesn't use hops.
Right.
And Germans were already using hops. So Germans were starting to bring hops into England, and he couldn't tax them. He wasn't making money.
Damn
So
Germans.
the famous quote goes that hops are a wicked and pernicious weed.
Okay.
So it's an actual quote in a history book. So at our brew pub, we have a mural of King Henry VIII.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the quote underneath of it. So
Nice.
that's where the name comes from, history, not from just getting stoned in a room and saying, hey, let's call our brewery Wicked Weed. Yeah.
Well, now that we've learned something, let's go ahead and do something that we don't usually do in the show. Let's go ahead and drink more beer.
So what's this next one we got?
All right. So we've got Freak of Nature. So this is a double IPA.
Yes.
So-
Okay. Let's up the ante.
Yes. So I wanted to bring two IPAs because, again, we're known for this, right?
Yeah.
Tony Two Taps.
Cool story about Freak is at our brew pub. the OG, the original location. That's the first place we ever brewed beer. This was one of the first beers we ever brewed, and it's been on tap since day one.
Okay.
Anytime you ever go to 91 Biltmore Avenue,
Yeah.
Asheville, Wicked Weed, Freak is always on tap. And it always has been, and it always will be.
Oh, that's cool.
Double IPA, this beer stands out for itself. You drink one of these, you feel like a freak. Another reason I brought this is in 2020, with everything going on, this is one of our OG beers. It placed in the Great American Beer Festival, like I referred to earlier.
Oh, cool.
So this took home bronze. Again,
Okay.
one of the second most entered categories in all of the Great American Beer Festival in double IPAs, and it took home bronze. So we're very proud of that. As a brewery and sales force, this is definitely one of our favorite beers. So be able to have the accolade behind it now is pretty amazing and pretty awesome.
All right.
This one is going to be a little bit more malty than Pernicious. Like I said, coming in at 8.5% alcohol, you can feel this one.
I've not had this one, so I am excited to try.
Yeah,
this.
I'm going in blind on this one, so just holding it up to the light. Once again, I mean, it's kind of a more of that lager look, but it definitely seems like it has less carbonation in this one than Pernicious had in the one we had prior.
It's more straw colored as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm colorblind. Go ahead and take a big old smell of this bish.
I mean, it's not overpowering.
Yeah, I felt like almost Pernicious seemed a little bit more hoppy than this one even. Would you say?
Well, so Pernicious, you get more of that effervescence.
We've been drinking, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. You get more notes on the
Right.
nose. This
Yeah.
one, you're going to get kind of that piney, a little
Okay.
bit of that dank smell on the nose.
Okay.
But it's still very mellow.
Yeah,
Again,
definitely.
our IPAs, we're not making these to destroy your palate.
Okay.
Right? Like, these are supposed to be complimentary.
You
beers
care
to
about my
everything you
mouth?
do. Yeah, we do.
Sometimes.
We care about everyone.
amazing. All right, well, cheers, boys.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh.
And that comes in at what percent?
8.5.
Oh, I
That's-
like that one.
I mean, this beer, they should have just named it after you, man. Tony Two Taps, because this thing is going to murder me. It runs so smooth. This thing runs incredibly smooth. Great malt forward taste there.
Yep.
I mean, this thing is deadly.
Yeah.
If you allow it to be. And I'm not saying that in a bad way.
No,
This
it's
thing
not
is
bad at all.
absolutely delicious.
Oh, that is so good, man. Yeah, you get the maltiness of it, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
You get the hops on the back end. Oh, man.
Freak just hits different,
It
It is so good.
It really does.
The artwork on the can of the box, phenomenal. It's so cool. Yeah, show that on the
showcase it
stream.
on the live stream
That
here.
is so good. Oh man. So Marshall, on the beer scale of supremacy 1 to 5, where are you going with Freak?
Once again, I haven't been on a IPA kick in quite some time, man. But I'm going to give this one, check it out, 3.975. I'm really enjoying the hell out of freaking nature, man.
All right, Tony, what about you?
Again, this one might be a little more biased than Pernicious, but I will keep it honest. I've got to get this one a 4.5.
Okay.
Just because of the way it makes me feel after drinking
Yes.
too many of these.
I like that.
It's an emotional number. And that's fine.
Yeah,
That's completely
exactly.
fine.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to go 4.25 because it's like double IPAs to me are so tricky. I mean, they can either just kick your ass and you're like, I can't do this, or there's nothing there. This is almost like the perfect combination of both of those things because it's super smooth. You get the maltiness, you get the hoppiness, but I kind of like the Pernicious. I could drink this all day. I mean, I'd pass out
won't.
after a few.
You definitely
but
won't.
You know what? I would try. I'd give it my all. But no, dude, that is fantastic. That's
Yeah.
a great beer. I really like that.
So the score?
4.25.
Oh,
I gave it.
4.2. Oh,
Yeah, I
sorry,
saw
I
the
just
score.
I blocked you out.
How many of you had? I mean, is that the?
I don't want to talk about it.
I brought a six-pack.
All right. So one last question before we get out. I just like to kind of know what craft beer got you into craft beer.
So again, working in Denver, working in Raleigh, and all these things, craft beer has always been a part of my career.
Right.
I can go back to the IPA. 'Cause
Yeah.
we are drinking IPAs that really got me into IPAs.
Mhm.
I was 21, and I was only drinking wheat beer at the time. Go figure. and Pilsners and lagers.
Right.
And Highland, OG brewery in Asheville as
Right.
well. Much respect to them. I love that brewery. They made a beer called Cashmere Ipa at the time, and I just remember drinking
very fancy.
a pint, and it just made me feel different. It gave me that funny little feeling inside, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing.
And your life has never been the
It's
same.
never been the same. I've been an alcoholic ever since. So
Outstanding.
All right, Tony from Wicked Weed, sir, thank you for stopping by,
Yeah.
man. That was awesome. Thank you for the beer. That was delicious.
Mhm.
Freak. If you guys haven't tried that yet, I can't recommend it enough. That is good stuff. All right, we've got Marshall's Music News coming up next. Cotter and Marshall, Rock 106.1.